Tyler, why don't you talk to us a little bit about Worm? Where the last time we checked in on your Worm talks, you were just starting part two. Hey Joe, you can rest easy for a little
I
bit.
imagine instead of going like chapter by chapter, we'll just kind
No,
of.
that's not what we're doing because Joe's still here. We can't do the full talk. Uh, I want your hot takes on each arc. So what arcs have we covered so far? Um we did Slaughterhouse. Tyler's
Did
almost
I
done with Echidna.
did I talk about Slaughterhouse?
I don't know if he did.
No, no,
I don't
no.
know if
I'm
he talked
saying
all
the
the way through.
things that you did since we
Oh,
last talked. So there's
Oh, I've done
Slaughterhouse,
so much.
Echidna. There's Coil 16 and such, 15,
Yeah,
16,
yeah.
and then there's early part two, which would be like uh, post Leviathan.
The Ward's interlude arc.
Yeah. So just
Uh,
give us some opinions there.
let's see. Oh yeah. So I have this handy dandy worm chapter synopsis from forum.spacebattles.com pulled
hell
up.
yeah!
Me and
Bradley
Bradley
knows
use
what I'm
those.
talking about.
No, we use that for the worm rankings that we just completely dropped.
So we get to see like the like redeveloping of the wards, and we get Weld, who's I think is a really great character.
Weld is a fucking beast.
He is like, I don't even remember who it was before him, but Weld just straight up actually has the power and the like foresight to take care of his peeps. We get some Shadow Stalker like perspective, and like she ambushes Skitter and everything, and then that's when they like get Shadow
That
Stalker back.
Regent chapter is the moment where I was like, wait, Worm is like really good.
Yeah, this is where I forgot. Like I've been so used to it now. It's like that's where we find out about Regent's
all of
power.
a sudden you're just taking over bodies every arc, but this was a massive deal when I
Like
first read
one
it.
of the lines that just everybody remembers is when his chapter opens up with "I'm letting you go, Regent lied." And I'm just like, oh fuck, here we go.
Yeah.
That line.
I really like when I really enjoy that. I think this is about the time we start to get different perspectives into the same scenarios,
Mhm.
because then we get that entire interlude through Shadow Stalker's perspective of like in the foyer and everything when they're talking with the Undersiders, and then like Regent sends her home, but he's still like controlling her, and
Yeah.
it shows how far his power can reach, and that's terrifying.
Yeah, he's fucking scary.
What a good lad, that Regent.
He's a good boy.
Oh man, we just also like it starts to develop a lot of Regent's past, like, and you see like I think he's like 13 or 14, and he was like taking control of people and
Oh, he's raping and
making them-
murdering from a young age.
I didn't want to say the R word.
Oh,
but, you know,
it's Worm.
No,
the
yeah,
R word
he-
exists.
yeah,
Rape is the thing.
So, let's see. We have Parasite.
There's the we get started on the Slaughterhouse 9 arc, which has those really good interludes introducing all of the 9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, those were great. What do you mean? Yeah. Those are some of the best chapters.
I think Parasite sucked. I think if I'm thinking back, because we get the introduction to like Dragon's armor suit,
Ugh.
and I think we have an interlude that talks
Wait,
about like she can't harm people. I don't know if we're learning that yet, but like bitch betrays Skitter and then they make up like 2 seconds later.
Yeah,
when...
that was a huge moment until it wasn't.
yeah, it was like 2 seconds, and it was like, okay, whatever.
Taylor's just like, you know what? She just does her whole Taylor thing after
Yeah.
punching her.
Arc 11, I was not prepared for A through H interludes.
Those are so
Yeah,
good.
dude. Because like the first half of Arc 11, it's like them going to fight the merchants or whatever, and
Oh,
you know
yeah.
that half of the arc is like, but these fucking interludes, holy fucking shit.
So, Infestation, they all get their secret layers set up, and finally Taylor gets her terrarium room.
Yeah.
I was
Dude,
very
she's a
excited.
Finally,
Yeah, she's a
the
fully
long-awaited
fledged terrarium.
terrarium room.
I think the one moment from the first half of Arc 11 that I really actually like is when she's just sitting in her lair sipping tea while simultaneously taking out like various groups of thugs across her territory.
That's one thing I really want to see in live action.
Yeah.
That would look great with good directing.
Other than we get the reveal on who the 9 choose as their like people, and I'm actually.
What are your thoughts on the 9 and I guess their candidates and all that, like as characters and how that was all set up?
I thought it was really cool that a couple of the Undersiders were chosen, and then like Taylor was like a pseudo pick.
I feel like she becomes a candidate when Jack sees how like ruthless and capable she is around arc 14.
Yeah, I think around the time she and Jack fight in the school later on, I think he's like, "Man, I kind of wish we nominated you."
You're all right.
Yeah.
Not
It's like you're all right, bitch.
You're all right. Don't come to school tomorrow.
That works in a lot of ways.
So we get also a very important thing is a little side note. They go on a little side quest, and they get their first taste of Cauldron.
Oh
with
yeah,
the merchants.
Right.
We also meet Scrub, who I don't know if he's gonna like. He's in this arc I'm currently in now in 19, but I don't know if he's ever gonna become relevant. But he exists.
You're probably like, never mind.
Yeah, I'm like,
he's in 19. We'll just say that.
Yeah. So yeah, I think it, and now that I'm seeing like the list out in front of me, I think it's really interesting that Hookwolf was is Shatterglass her name?
Shatterbird.
Shatterbird was Shatterbird's pick because Shatterbird ended up getting captured, and Hookwolf was the only one that ended up joining.
And Hookwolf joined because he's like, I'm gonna get back at Shatterbird.
I didn't know that, so thanks.
Okay, no, he says that.
Nah.
Bradley, back me up. You're the encyclopedia.
I thought in his interlude, he's like, "Oh well," he's like, "I just want to get back at this lit girl, so I'm gonna like." I don't know. I think that he had like a plan for it.
He hates Shatterbird, but she's not even in the roster when he gets picked.
I may have missed that interlude. There were a couple interludes going through the audiobooks that the audio quality was so terrible I could not listen to them. Like, it was bad. Anyway, mostly all of them have been good. I think that might have been one of the 2 that I had skipped.
I will say, like, Arc 11 is where this went from like, oh, you know, I like this book to my favorite book, and I think it's specifically because of interludes A and B, which would be Bitch's interlude and then the interlude where we meet Jack. I fucking love those 2 chapters.
That Theo interlude is godlike.
I just got Theo's second interlude, so I'm very interested to see where.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Oh shit, with that one's with Crusader and stuff like that.
Yeah. So we have Arc 12 Plague, where they all start to, like, the heroes and the villains. They're like, "Hey, yo, we gotta team up and take down the slaughterhouse," and everybody's like, "F you, Undersiders!" And then we get Imp. Imp's finally here.
Yeah, she's like
the reveal of Imp, I think.
Part of the team.
Yeah.
And
she's like, "Nah, I'm gonna chill." And then she just like, they make the Undersiders leave and somebody else, Travelers
probably.
Oh yeah. And like, it's really frustrating for them too, because Coyle is also at that meeting, but he can't like back them up because
that was a good meeting.
Yeah. So we get Mannequin versus Taylor, round 1.
Good fight, pretty good.
And the Shatterbird singing part.
That was one of my favorite chapters up to that point, where Taylor is rushing to her dad's house.
Yeah.
It was very tense, and I felt actually proud of Taylor for maybe the first time in the book where I was like, man, you're a goddamn hero right now.
Dude. Go
ahead.
I was saying, like, a little bit, I think like the chapter or 2 before that, or like the chapter right before that, where she sings, because, you know, like, I think Jack like warned them that Shatterbird was about to do her song in a few minutes.
Mm-hmm.
That whole chapter was fucking awesome to me, because they just finished I don't think any of them have actually run into the 9 yet, and they just have all these meetings where they're basically like, okay, we don't know how to deal with these guys yet, but we kind of have a plan. And the second they walk out of their meeting, they see like all of the strongest members standing right there, and Jack just fucking smiles, and they're just like, no.
It was like, oh god, that was great, because then I realized, I think what happened at that point, that was when we realized that their bodies were augmented, and that they were not as weak as they looked. Because I think Imp tried to like hack the little girl, and
she
like
tries
nothing
to slit Bonesaw's throat or whatever, and Bonesaw just like, she takes it.
Bonesaw just like side turns, is like, bitch.
Yeah, she's just like, ow.
Yeah. So Skitter wins round 1
by bukkake mannequin with webs.
KO by bukkake.
And she gains a little bit of new power, you know, being able to manipulate smaller objects, and she learns web slinging.
Web slinging.
You know? So yeah, we get the interlude, Jack interlude, where he kills all the merchants, and we see how terrifying like the 9R is a unit.
Yeah, that interlude is when Jack started becoming one of my favorite characters, because I really like the way that he maneuvers manipulating each of the 9. He goes through each one. He's like, oh, this is what's at the core of their body, and this is kind of how I go about manipulating them.
And you know what? Now that you say that, it makes me think back to the limo chapter, when Coil and the Undersiders and Travelers are all riding through the city, and Coil's sitting there like, I know how to manipulate each one of these people and what they want.
He's like, bitch, I can give you places to take care of your dogs. He's like, oh, Brian, like, if you work with me, your sister's going to get everything she needs. Like,
very pseudo.
All these people.
Very pseudo Slaughterhouse 9.
Oh, damn.
It's also, like, it's very well explained by his power, how he's able to get all these right answers.
Let's move on to Snare, where they get attacked more by the 9. The Travelers and Circus, like at this point, Circus was still around, and I was like, okay, like
I forgot who Circus was. For
exactly.
A long time.
I did too. I forgot she showed up that one moment to hit Aegis, I think.
Yeah.
And Arms Master, and I was like, okay.
Okay.
We also got the Assault and Battery interlude at the end of Plague, and I was like, that was a nice interlude, but I like the ones with the hero backstories. They are interesting, because then we get Aisha's, and I'm like, I'm sorry, that was the most boring thing I could have never cared about ever.
You didn't like the Aisha interlude?
I mean, it was cool when she invades the 9 and like tracks them down, and then like Cherish and her team up, but I still, even then, important, but I don't care.
For me, the battery interlude is maybe the least important interlude. It's the first one I would cut if I think
if I had to cut one, maybe the battery one, just because I think you can survive.
The thing I like about Aisha is that it makes a nice tie to how she feels in her home life, tied to her power, and like that struggle of wanting to not be noticed and wanting to be noticed, and her mom just never really listens to her and just keeps going down the bad road that she's going down.
We get Mannequin versus Skitter round 2, and he's got his Akimbo model 1992s.
Blat. Shoot a dog in the back.
Yeah, he's got his Akimbo models. But he FFs at 15, and then Burnscar shows up.
Ooh. Yeah, they just tag out.
Yeah. So they do that.
And this was a tense moment when they tagged out, because Burnscar is immediately like, hey, bitch, your test is to kill your friends. And Taylor looks over at Rachel, and Taylor is like, she's thinking about it. She's really thinking about it.
I forget how they get out of that one.
How do they get out of it?
Yeah. Who knows?
Wait.
Taylor shot Webb.
Yeah.
She gathered her swarm.
I think they all like barely escaped.
Yeah, however they got out of it, it probably started with, I reached out with my swarm.
Taylor, for her part, was focusing on the enemy.
So this is when Gru gets captured, and I'm like, Yo, finally.
Yeah,
The
Tyler's
long-awaited.
rubbing his hands. He's
I'm
rubbing
like,
his hands.
finally. And technically, I was correct. Technically.
It would have been better if he died here because oh my god, what Bonesaw did to him, pretty bad.
Yeah.
He's pretty much never the same after this.
Yeah, and you know, I actually just had an interlude in the Theo interlude that gives some insight to that.
Second triggers.
Yeah. So Brian gets his second trigger event being tied to a refrigerator.
Yeah, I think the longest break that I took in my reading of Worm came after the refrigerator chapter. I think I was just like, I'm gonna
take a break.
I was like, I'm gonna put this down for a little while.
I'm gonna go out for cigarettes and then he's gonna come back.
And dude, you know what? I actually just had some insight, and I saw in the current arc that I'm on that this has actually been a nerf to Gru, a buff to his powers, and that's when we talk about Theo and second trigger events, and we like there's the theory that you no longer become a parahuman, is that it's like the powers become you. And in this fight, I'm like, Gru got nerfed as a person. Gru got nerfed because he's
broken.
And I, when we get to this fight, I'll talk about it.
Yeah,
so I'll make a mental note.
I have an important question because this was a point of contention between me and Bradley a little bit. What did you think of the miasma plotline?
Oh yeah.
I actually really liked it.
Okay.
Because that's very Slaughterhouse 9. Like, I don't, like, if I care about how Bonesaw does things, like, obviously, nah, like, I don't know, like, how she did that.
No,
I don't know what kind of
think
tinker
that's
she is. But I'm like, okay, you cause mass confusion. Nobody knows who anybody is. And it's like, that seems the perfect way for them to escape. Like, it didn't seem, I see where it has, like, it's like twofold thing, and I feel like honestly the miasma is Jack's call and not Bonesaw's, because if it was Bonesaw, she would have just made some disease to just kill everybody, and she doesn't care if she dies. However, Jack has a much bigger picture plan where he's like, hey, we'll do it next time. We need to survive. Make it do this so we can exist another day.
Possibly.
My favorite part of the miasma is specifically that it sets up these situations where Jack can try to corrupt people, specifically Taylor, because there's a big moment where Battery is on the ground, and, you know, Taylor doesn't know it's Battery.
Yeah.
And she doesn't know that this is Jack and Bonesaw, and they're really giving her all these reasons in the world to kill Battery on the ground. Like, you know, she's pretty sure this is Tattletale, but she's not sure. And this supposed Tattletale is like, my power's telling me, yes, that is a member of the Nine. You have to take them out. And so, you know, one of the big flaws with Taylor as a person is that she can be convinced, or she will convince herself to do very terrible things.
Mm-hmm.
But then we see here, to do these terrible things, she does have to convince herself that it is the right thing to do. I think the moment where she decides to not kill Battery is where she beats Jack in this arc, because that's what Jack is kind of here to do. He's here to corrupt people, and he could not get her to do it.
Mm-hmm.
He failed at manipulating her.
Taylor the uncorruptible.
Uncorruptible. It'll never happen.
Man, Bradley, as you explained that, I realize I am actually, I guess, more chaotic neutral, because I had never made that connection about Taylor. Like, oh, she has to convince herself to do bad things, and I'm sitting here like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean,
maybe that's what it was supposed to do.
I will say the first time I read through Worm and I went a lot faster, I guess I didn't think about it as much, and at any, like, I think the way one person described their read through of Worm was that at any singular moment, she kind of makes a case for why her decision is the right thing, but then you step back and look at the book as a whole, and you're like, oh my god, what has she done?
Yeah.
Well, she won this time, which leads us into the
Pray.
coil section.
Pray. which
Correct.
is still Slaughterhouse 9. Slaughterhouse 9 was so long, and I'm sorry, like, it hasn't been my favorite so far. Hadn't even been top 2, and I'm like, okay, whatever. So they are talking with Cherish. They have her captured. They figure out Siberian's weakness, which I'm like, okay, that's pretty cool power. And they have the whole Siberian chase sequence, and I'm like, okay, this is fun because, like, they can't do anything about this. There's just Siberian running around with this truck around the city.
Yeah, and they're just like, well, we can't punch a hole through the truck because she's fucking holding it.
I loved, actually, this section because we get Amy and Victoria together again.
Big fucking yikes.
They love each other.
We get Amy's corruption. We also get Atlas, who's a good boy.
Atlas is a good boy.
Yeah, that is cool. She gets a mount.
Yeah, she does. She leveled up. And I'm like, it really shows how strong Panacea is and how scared of her own power that she is. Because she's like, oh, I am like the Slaughterhouse 9. I am, like, really strong and could use this for terrible things. And she's just scared of herself.
I think I think like twice throughout the Slaughterhouse 9 arc, Taylor has this thought, once directed towards Genesis and once towards Panacea. She's like, man, if I had your power, I'd use it so much better than you do.
Yeah. Skitter and Weld fight together. Skitter fights with the wards, and I'm like, yo, that's pretty cool.
Dude, it's fucking awesome. Like, I don't know, maybe I'm making this up, but I have this memory of after the, like, bomb strike goes off, there's, like, a red-hot Weld still trying to fight or something. He's, like, in the fire.
Yeah. And my favorite image is just, what was his name? Crawler. Just, like, standing in the middle, like, I love how they killed Crawler.
Yeah, they're just like, hey.
Because they're just like, hey, this will kill you. And he's like,
let's
no.
He's like, bet?
He's like, bet. And he's just like looking at the sky, praising the bomb sun.
It's so cool.
And he's just like, all right, finally.
They're just like, wow, that worked.
Yeah.
Poor mannequin. He just wanted to get away.
Let's see. Bonesaw activates the plague. We get the interaction with Bonesaw, Jack, and Taylor. Rip battery. Cherish gets tied to the bottom of the sea.
Shit happens, bitch.
Yeah.
That's the thing. I'm like, it sucks, but kind of had it coming.
Yeah.
Willer, I think that was our original shit happens, bitch moment, wasn't it?
I think it somehow started before this, but it was like this was the crowning moment.
Yeah.
And then what else happened with the 9 escaping Brockton Bay? Oh, when is the interlude about Victoria and Amy? I thought that was in this chapter.
There's the not Purity, what's her name? Photon?
I don't even remember her cape name. I just know her real name is Carol.
Lady Photon.
It's in the next chapter.
Okay.
So we get actually the thing that starts to reignite my interest in Worm again, because I went at a slow pace for a little bit, and now I think I've done like 3 arcs in 1 week.
You fired up, which is why now's a good time.
Set up this past week.
The Legend interlude.
Ooh!
Dude.
With Kid Win.
Dude, do you like Kid Win? Because I like Kid Win.
I like Kid Win.
Yeah.
And
what a dork.
It's really cool because he really is that just like classic truth, justice, and the American way good Boy Scout superhero, which like in a traditional superhero setting, that's not usually the most interesting character to me, but for some reason because he's that, he stands out in this story.
Yeah.
And it's fun to see him.
This interlude. So I've been thinking about this interlude and Miss Militias a lot lately. And it really is like these characters who are heroes, and it makes me compare to people who have natural trigger events, natural in quotes right now, because I feel like some shit's getting dropped soon.
Ooh, shit.
Yeah, and those who are drinking the formulas. And I feel like those who have the natural trigger events blend the lines more because they like are receiving these events through tragedy or isolation or just some extreme unfortunate event, trauma. And those who drink the vial are not, and so they're just kind of manipulated by Cauldron. They see, oh yes, everything I'm doing is right, but those who experience the trauma are able to blur the lines more, which is relevant to Miss Militia lately and this current arc where they're teamed up again. And it's like they're seeing these lines because they've experienced the lines.
I like where Tyler's head's at.
Yeah. Arc 19, pretty good.
So yeah, we're on Colony now, which we
gotta speed up a little bit.
I'm trying.
Just for Joe's sake.
Joe's playing Monster Hunter. He's fine.
I'm playing Bioshock, thank you.
Okay, Joe's fine. 15 Colony, they all have their territories, and the Skitter assassination starts to go into effect. We also get Carol's backstory interlude, which I think it's really cool to see how fucked up Amy fucked up Victoria.
Just to go to this asylum, you know?
I basically imagine a giant featherless swan.
Ooh.
That you can hit with a baseball bat and it doesn't move.
Why would you think of this?
I don't know if she was in her final form at the point Taylor saw her, but I remember when Taylor saw her, she's like, it was all of the features of someone that were supposed to be attractive, but were multiplied up to the point that they became more monstrous than attractive.
I think Taylor saw her as like a flesh coffin.
Oh yeah.
And all I can think of whenever I heard that description is like some Aqua Teen Hunger Force-esque character.
Yeah.
But it's a little meatball.
Yes.
Meatwad looking ass.
Yeah, Meatwad. So the Undersiders secure Regent's territory with some interactions they get Victor, who I'm like, I don't care about this guy.
Pretty
either.
fucked up. The one notable thing there is Taylor fighting against Regent using his full power, but then Regent's like, Taylor, you're so selective when you need to be.
Yeah, we have a lot of lull Walking Dead moments where it's just a lot of human interaction and relationship building.
Tyler's like, character development.
Yeah, I'm like, give me
a zombie.
They talk about the second trigger event with and him and Taylor make out. Oh wait, no, this is a chapter where do they do it this chapter?
They fuck.
I think they do it.
Have I already gone that far? Oh my god. Yeah, this moves so quick. I've done 4 arcs this week.
Oh, you've crushed it.
I
Bradley,
did not realize
is this
how much
around
I read.
the time where you gave me that little factoid, which came out not to be true, about the fluids?
Well, some aspects of it are true. We'll talk about it when we get there.
Okay.
So Skitter recruits Parian, and Flechette doesn't like that, and we realize later why Flechette doesn't.
Yeah.
Taylor gets stabbed with one of the invincible needles of Flechette's.
Oh.
The Alexandria's background and how she got involved with Cauldron, the founding of the PRT, the Protectorate, Triumvirate, the Behemoth attack, Siberian and Alexandria. And
that's where Hero gets killed.
We get that different perspective again.
Yeah.
We get the meeting from Eidolon and
oh yeah, because it's the same meeting, isn't it?
Yeah, and Alexandria, which also, by the way, now that I finally started reading, I'm sorry, but a lot of people pronounce it Eidolion, and I'm like, it's Eidolon.
It's Eidolon.
It's Eidolon.
It's Eidolon. Eidolon. But apparently that's a word of God. Wildbow said it was this way. But you know what? The guy who made GIFs calls them GIFs. So sometimes the creators are wrong.
Yeah, we're human. We're humans.
I always said Eidolon.
Sometimes your creation, you'd be wrong about your creation.
Sometimes.
they go threaten the mayor. I really like that scene because like they jump into the ant's nest, and then it's like they're in the beehive, and then she's like, "Oh, that's who was it? Is it Triumph?"
Yeah, Triumph.
Yeah, and they're like, "Oh shit!" And then he just starts like beating the crap, and like shit just way out of hand. And you're like, the entire time you're like, "Who's gonna kill me?"
Yeah, because the whole situation's made more tense, but it's like not only is she fighting these people, she's also convinced that the people she's on the mission with are supposed to kill her that night.
Which are the travelers at this point. And at this point, you really don't know how morally flexible the travelers are, so you're still wary of them.
Yeah. So that happens, and then we get the interlude with Rory Christener. Christener?
Oh yeah,
between Triumph and Prism.
Oh, this one was really good. I really like the ending of this one, where Triumph is looking out at the burned bodies of Crawler and Mannequin, trying to understand something about evil, but he isn't able to.
Ooh boy. We get Defiant in this
arc. Fucking G.
Defiant's back, and I just like how Triumph is like, "Yo, are we not gonna point this out?"
Yeah, and everyone's like winking at him. What are you talking about?
Piggo. Oh god, I hate Piggo.
Yeah.
She's
yeah.
So we get Monarch. God, it was like reading this yesterday. I've been speeding through this.
Yeah, you went freaking really fast.
Please join us in Roundabout 35 as we discuss Arc 30 spec.
I just remember you put like it was like 2 days ago. You posted in the Discord, "Hey, did Coil just blow up?"
And now I'm like, who's Coil?
Coil, you mean that piece of flesh that the seagulls are eating? Oh, we'll talk about that.
Fun fact, so the reason why I'm blazing through is I have a new job where reading is very accessible to me.
Yeah.
So we get Taylor holds a barbecue, not cooking Coil's flesh. And then the dragon squads arrive.
I didn't like the dragon portion of this arc very much.
I think the one fight that I liked was the one where, because like Dragon sends a different suit after each of them. I liked the one that fights Bitch, where anytime you break part of it, it'll like eat some metal and then rebuild it. So I thought that was a cool suit.
Second half of 16 though.
I want to talk about this interlude first because I just had information revealed to me that I did not realize.
Yeah, you talk about the Nilbog interlude.
Yeah.
Oh, that was some wild shit. Do you know who that was at the end of that interlude?
No, I just saw that. I'm like, I just pulled up the chapter again. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah. So the thing Tyler's referring to is that at the very end of the chapter, Piggo
is in a hospital.
Yeah, she meets Thomas Calvert, who we later learn is Coil. And I think the only way you would realize that this is Piggo, because it doesn't name her.
I knew it was Piggo.
Yeah, I think the only way you're supposed to know it's her is that she says a line that she says a few other times in the story where
Something
she's
about
like,
the world.
yeah, it's like the world's gone mad and I'm the only sane person left.
Yeah, and I really realized it was Piggo when she was like, oh, I didn't have a trigger event or anything, and it talked about her legs being all battered up, and she was gonna like, I was like, oh, this is someone who's gonna gain a lot of weight because she's gonna be handicapped forever.
I've always really liked the Nilbog chapter because one, I think it's the first. It's weird to describe. Okay, I was about to say it's weird to describe it this way. It's an S-class threat. We get to see that isn't in Bringers or the Slaughterhouse 9. It's just kind of fun to see, like, oh, what else qualifies as being in their tier, you know?
I loved this because I really liked the introduction of Nilbog.
Yeah, he's so cool. He's scary as fuck too.
All I could imagine this entire. You ever watch World War Z? Whenever they go into the military base and it's like raining, and then they have to run back to the helicopter, and like nobody survives except like two guys, and they're all like running and gunning the entire way back as they're getting. These are sprinter zombies. These aren't walking zombies. These are sprinting like form masses of like biological matter.
Mix
zombies.
in a little bit of Rick and Morty season 3, where that one dude gets stuck.
Cronenberg's.
Yeah.
No, that one dude gets stuck in that magic world, and then he just fucks everything.
Yeah,
like,
he like has sex with his creations to make more creations.
that was the vibe I got.
And then I don't know. I also really like this chapter because like if someone hadn't read Worm but they wanted an example chapter, I might throw this one at them just because you don't really need outside context to understand what's going on in this chapter, and it doesn't necessarily spoil anything that comes before it.
Just send them straight to 26C.
There you go. Yeah, send them straight to 26C.
This I really like this interlude. It reminded me a lot of a horror genre that I used to read back in my teenage days. And I was like, oh man, this is the gore I like. This is the terror I like. So we get the kidnapping of Pigo. They go underground. Bitch fights an immortal robot. Oh, they fight the dragon bots.
Yeah.
And all I could think of was like Megazords.
Yeah.
And just like they both split apart. We get Defiant following up. And I'm like, woo, can we just get this now? I actually took a break after that because I was like, I don't want to go back to the regularly scheduled.
Yeah, I think on the Discord you were like, can we like make the story Defiant and Dragon hunting down the 9?
Me and Tyler don't always see eye to eye or agree, but the fact that we both love Defiant is something that makes me very happy.
Defiant is so fucking cool.
That's my fucking boy.
I think I stopped reading for about a day and a half after that interlude because it was just like, I don't want to go back to the other stuff. I just want this now.
But you know what? When we go back, we get the finale to Coil, which has been the long running arc since 7, basically.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they Taylor and Brian did it this chapter.
Okay.
And like they had the awkward morning breakfast. They do their pillow talk. Yeah. Coil attacks the debate that Taylor's just trying to have a good day with Dad. For like the first time ever, trying to be a good daughter, and it's like you get to see, oh, her dad's got friends and everything, you know, he's living this own life, and like he has to, you know, otherwise he's gonna go
what
insane.
she gets? She gets what she fucking deserves.
She gets blind.
Yep.
So she goes blind. Coil dies, and I was like, did Coil just blow up?
No.
Like what? I really liked the conclusion of Chariot in this section. Who was the betrayal ward.
Yeah, he joined the wards, but he was actually like a plant from Coil, right?
Dude, yeah, and I think the arc before that, I was like, yo, what happened to that tinker that like was a bad guy? And they're like, oh, that's Chariot. And I was like, oh, I had no clue. Like, I've missed some significant things. So so she's blind, but she uses her bugs to see anyway. They realize Coil is Thomas Calvert. And then Taylor goes to meet with the travelers, and they're all just hanging out in their base, just chilling and everything. And he's like, yeah, I'll let Dinah go. You know, like they go to meet with Thomas Calvert on the rooftop, and Dinah show up, and then she grab her hand and she like boop out of there.
And then we go into a very good chapter.
Oh yeah,
this was for a long time my favorite like action chapter in Worm, where Taylor has to escape the burning building and take out the Coil guards.
This is one of like this is what I if Taylor has like her crowning moment of badassery in the story where she's proved to me how badass she can be, this is it.
I'd say this is her solo badass moment.
She's also blind. She's also recently blind.
She's blind. She got shot in the fucking sternum. The building is on fire. It's surrounded by people with machine guns and like a chain link fence, and she gets out.
She learned her costume was bulletproof.
Yeah.
So like the entire time that this starts happening in this, because Coil just revealed his plan to like get the travelers out of the city too, and it's like it would be dangerous, but they will escape. And I'm like, the entire time that Taylor's trying to escape from this building, he keeps yelling something very specific. Don't use the grenades. And I'm like, is this part of his plan, or is he actually trying to kill Taylor? And I'm just like, I can't tell. I honestly don't know.
I think the answer is yes, he was trying to kill Taylor.
Implication is that the universe in which you shoot grenades at Taylor is the universe in which you lose.
Yeah.
So he didn't do it.
Yeah, but she pulled the grenades anyway.
Yeah.
I think that's why he was like, grenades are easily counterable when she has her powers.
Yeah. So, we also got the Marquise interlude in this with some more Amy. And, oh my God. I don't know what Amy learns in this chapter.
Yeah.
Oh,
the
yeah.
entire end of this chapter is crazy because first we show up at the end of a conversation she just finished having where she is kind of implying that she just figured out what powers are and how they work, but we just missed her explanation. And she's like, I really need to let people know about this. Like, people have to know what's going on. So they're like, oh, well, if you go in your cell and talk, Dragon will hear you. And so she does it. And then we go up into the sky, and the Simurgh, which we have not seen up to this point, scrambles her message so Dragon will not.
Intentionally!
Yeah.
I was like, did the Simurgh do this intentionally?
Hell yeah.
Because it's like, oh, it went slightly off track to go out of its way to do this. And I'm like, I'm actually gonna go reread that one because I'm gonna reread the end.
The entire end of that chapter, I'm like, oh my God, no.
Yeah. So Taylor gets shot, fights on. The Undertriders try to trick Coil, but then he sees it. But then like Coil was like, aha, I know how to trick Tattletale's powers, but then Tattletale was like, I have the high ground and I have the entire time.
Daddy has money.
What do you think about that? Like, I went on record as saying that I do not like how Coil is defeated by Tattletale off screen getting more money than him.
So Tattletale knew, like, there were parts where Tattletale knew about that, and I liked her. Like, you go back and think about it, whenever they robbed the bank, she went off on her own.
Right.
She was doing her own thing, and like that was set up, and I don't hate it because Coil did just hire a bunch of mercenaries that didn't really care about anything except money. Like,
they flip so easy though.
Like Flicky Boy. Well, no, they've been flipping, you know, because like she had the only thing she had at her disposal at her lair were her military people, you know, like that's a lot of like networking right there. And yeah, I didn't hate it. I was like, you know what?
The real crowning moment though of this finale is Taylor killing Coil. It is a wonderful scene.
Yes, this is, I imagine the entire screen turned black and they had red silhouettes. Ooh. And then, like, there was blood coming out the back of his head.
And then, pretty much immediately, so, like y'all said, Coil's been the long-running threat ever since, like, Arc 7. So we just finished him off. So it's like, where do we go from here? And then as soon as you have that thought, it's like, hey, potentially Endbringer level threat just...
Her name is Noelle, so why don't we learn a little bit about her in a very short arc?
You know what? We've been doing this about 40 minutes now.
Yes, Tyler, we have.
Willer wanted it to be 20.
You know what? This is good.
This is really good, though.
Tyler hasn't finished the Echidna arc yet, so
I'm gonna save it.
Yeah,
I'll talk about it next week.
We don't want to talk about the Travelers because now we went this far and you're gonna blue ball me on the Travelers.
I will spend another 30 minutes talking about the Travelers.
So good. We'll save it.
I go, yo, no interlude at the end of this, and then I go,
oh,
17 is the interlude.
Time for some esports.
Yeah. I made a meme for this, the domino meme.
I might take some notes so I don't forget my feelings because they're all very fresh. I've read 17 through 19 this week.
This arc, I want your purest feelings.
Ugh.
Anywho,
we should talk about it right now and just decide what we post.
Do you want to?
They're very fresh.
We'll remove Monster Hunter. It's fine. Go.
Okay. Oh my God, this is a great interlude because like this is like. Most interludes that you get to hype up, you're getting the character names, you're getting the name drops, and you're like trying to be like, oh, who's this? Who's that? Who's this person? And then they're like, all right. And then he pulls out like a bunch of laptops and it's like, oh, he's a tinker. That's not who I thought that was. And then it's like, oh, they all boot up. Get in the game. Esports.
They're doing Clash, Tyler. They're playing Clash one weekend. and then they just end up in an alternate world.
Oh,
Oh,
all of 17 was just a
And Tyler,
huge
I think you'll be glad to
mindfuck.
know, as a game designer, that this like hypothetical esport that they play, Wild Bow has like fully fleshed out what the game is and how it works and like what the model for it in online is and stuff like that.
Oh no, I completely feel that vibe from this. It seems like something really complicated, like if you've ever watched Parks and Rec, like the Cones of Dunshire, like esque. And that's what I get from this. It seems like something just overly complicated that he's
so
trying to like make the next D&D or something.
what do you think about all of the travelers now after knowing their entire journey in this world?
Their relationship with each other makes more sense now,
Yeah.
because like it's like, yo, why can't you trust each other at all?
Well, why does
who's the sun girl? Marissa, what's her name?
yeah, Marissa is Sundancer.
So like Sundancer, she's like, Skitter, I hope I never see you again. And it's like, or no, Genesis is saying that.
Yeah.
And it's like, yo, why? Like, y'all have been through so much. Why?
So there's stuff like all of them not trusting Trickster because Klaus took charge when they landed and lied about, like, him and Genesis knew they were in another world for a good solid 3 chapters before they tell the rest. He manipulates them all.
He tried. He didn't manipulate anyone.
That's the thing.
Tried.
I feel like it was like a solid mix of manipulating and genuine trying.
Oh yeah, but okay, you look at Genesis and she knows too, and she didn't tell anyone. So it's like he's not in that boat by himself.
I side with, like, Klaus is kind of shitty when he's manipulating Noelle, and I don't like, he's kind of gaslighting her, and he's like kind of like, don't say that you want to break up with me unless you really like. He's playing all these mind games. So I feel like Klaus and Noelle, he's a fuckboy. But Klaus, in relation to what they do when they land in Earth Bet, I think is really relatable, and I honestly think that he had the best intentions in mind. He's just kind of unaware of how people perceive him sometimes.
Yeah, he's young. They're all young,
and fuck Cody, right? I mean,
yeah. I asked her what happened to him, and it turns out he's still alive, and I'm like, God damn it!
No, we left off with Accord taking him.
Yeah, and he's probably still alive and gonna come back, and I'm very upset about that.
I mean, probably, bitch, but we don't know.
I checked the wiki. I had to like get some visual like stat. Like I've been checking the wiki intermittently because I want some visual.
You really
like
should.
I want some visual fan art with like what what the descriptions are.
You should ask me and Bradley for fan art and not ever check that wiki.
I haven't been spoiled too much. But yeah, so we get the Simurgh and whatever it's doing, and Jess knows about the Simurgh, and Jess knows immediately that they're in the other dimension. Like, she knows immediately because she's like, the Simurgh is not from this dimension.
Yeah, she was the most up to date with like the other world's hero politics and all that.
Yeah, so they all start to like, you get the Simurgh's powers, they escape to the building, and we get the monsters being dumped in the city, and it's like, I don't know what the Simurgh built. It seems like a dimensional gateway, but
yeah,
I don't know still, and I like the mystery that surrounds it because Jess keeps us like reiterating, she's not a tinkerer. She's not a tinkerer.
Yeah.
And he's like, then how does she build that? And he's like, I don't know, but she's not a tinker. That's not what she is.
The Simurgh is mysterious, and Bradley pointed out to me, there's all these moments in this arc where Kraus does something without the book acknowledging it. Like, when he's leaving the room where he found the briefcases, he doesn't mention picking it up, but in a couple of scenes, he has it in his hands.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like the Simurgh manipulating him into doing actions, and we're not really. It's subconscious, and it's written in a way where it's just like it's a surprise to us as well.
Yeah, and I think if I go back and reread that and like have that forethought in mind, it leads up to when we get the first realization of him doing things subconsciously is when he drinks the first vial.
Yeah.
Like he just says, "Fuck it, I'm gonna do it," you know? Like
Fuck.
here we go. Kraus killing the bird was really weird. Like and it shows like his personality because it's like he thinks, "Oh, this bird is suffering. I'm doing it for the bird."
Bradley, did you have insight on the bird?
Well, he was just putting it out of its misery
Yeah.
because it was bashing its head. But the interesting thing about that scene, and I don't think this is original thought. I think I might have got it from the We've Got Worm podcast, where in that scene he sees that this bird has gone crazy, and it's bashing its head against the wall, hurting itself, and he's like, "Man, that's terrifying. Like, it's really scary to think what an intelligent being with opposable thumbs could do." And then, without having any other thoughts, he immediately picks up a knife.
So, thinking about this, so they get they start to take some of their powers, and I realize now in this battle that I'm currently reading, they all experience memories. Everybody starts to have those experienced memories where it just triggers them into an angry state by the Simurgh. And in this battle I'm in, you also have Echidna experiencing those same memories, and she goes into this unconscious state and she wakes up. Same thing happens to every other character in this arc, and I'm like, any one of them were set up to become the Echidna. Like any one of them, because like they were all targeted with those memories of anger, and like they all go into these subconscious like fits, you know?
Yeah, and so I guess one thing we didn't talk about because we were too focused on Brian and his refrigerator experience is that while he's in there, Bonesaw for the first time brings up the idea of
The passenger.
what she calls passengers, where she's like, there's a lot of stuff powers kind of do on their own without you having to think about it. And Taylor's noticed this too. I think back in her fight against Oni, Lee, and Lung, she's like, oh, I totally forgot that I told my bugs to gather these bags of money. So Bonesaw's like, yeah, there's this thing I call the passenger that's kind of, it might be its own thing doing work in the background. And in Noelle's interlude, we see her kind of struggling with her passenger.
And then they have the second trigger event, which like I feel like maybe is the trigger event for the passenger, maybe. So it's like now the passenger is brought to the forefront. I don't know.
Let's close out 17 with the chapter where time has passed and they're all heroes now properly.
Yeah,
I really like
boys.
how like Noelle's situation's very scary. She was really well built up this arc, and now you feel really bad for her because her life is over.
They give her half the vial, and I'm sitting here just like, I'm pretty sure in the Cauldron interlude with Alexandria, she's like, drink the whole thing or whatever.
Yeah, she's like, not only is she like, okay, like drink the whole thing, it's safer that way. They also, the Battery had to go through months of like psychological testing to see if she was stable enough to use these. And these teenagers who are infighting and under the influence of something that makes you go crazy.
Yeah, and I'm just like, Travelers got screwed over, man, because they were not gonna be. And I sit there and I'm like, wow, they were never gonna be able to form any type of attachment to that world ever.
Yeah, that's another thing, right? Now they have to start over here. Even Mars is like, my mom sucks, but I kind of miss just being there.
Yeah, like even if they like went like full Buddhist monk, try to just appreciate even natural things that maybe occurred, they still like, this isn't for me though.
Yeah, and the Traveler should go full Buddhist monk. They would be happier this way.
Queen.
The way though that 17 ends with Klaus is like, Noelle, I did it. I found someone that can finally help us. there's some hope, and Noelle gets a glimmer of hope for the first time in their lives. And then Kraus wakes up, and he's like, what the fuck happened? And he looks over, and their one hope, Coil, is now a piece of flesh on the ground being eaten by seagulls. That is my single favorite moment in Worm, I think. It is crushing, and I love it.
So he wakes up, but is this from
when Ballistic knocked him out?
Is this from when Ballistic knocked him out, or did he go unconscious the entire time, like the Simurgh effect, and his passenger has just been taking the reins the entire time?
Oh fuck!
Oh, that's a deep pull. I'm gonna say it's
supposed to
because
knock him out, but you can hold on to that.
You can hold that out.
Okay.
The thing about Arc 17, Wildbow has like this kind of big repository of a bunch of different first drafts of like Worm, where he would write the first chapter or a first arc, and so he has like a bunch of these first drafts, like the name of the draft, and he'll say like, oh, this chapter, Circus was originally going to be the main character of Worm, or like, oh, it was going to follow Fault Line's crew, or oh, it was going to follow this person. And on one of the drafts, he got to it, and he didn't actually post the chapter. He's like, in this draft, the Travelers were the main characters, and the first arc was, it was just Arc 17, but written worse. So Arc 17 could have been the first arc of the story, and you know what? I would have been
fascinating.
I would have been pretty cool with that, because the Travelers are fucking awesome.
We're gonna cut it here.
I just saw the title of a chapter that completely spoiled this entire thing for me.
Oh yeah? What's it called?
Chrysalis.
Chrysalis.
Oh, that's nothing.
That's nothing.
Okay, I hope not.
No, you're
all
fine.
right. 17 was good, boys.
Yeah.
Thank you all for joining my speedy Worm talk.
Second Ride returns.
Yeah, I'm still in it.
Please join us next podcast as Tyler finishes Worm. All right, we're done. We're
done.
No more Worm. Goodbye.